Hello,
This is
Jack
better
Olmstead,
lighting.
GMO Free News. I think the lighting looks great. This is Jack
Okay.
Olmstead, GMO Free News, talking with Melissa Bays. She's on the Flint, or actually the DC to Flint bus. You're returning home to Flint.
Yes.
It's 9 hours,
It took us 14 and a half to get here. We
14 and a
left at
half.
7. Yes, we left at 7 p.m. and got in at 9:30 this morning. So we were running so late for the hearings and didn't go off as planned, but we still got a lot done and we still made it for some press conferences and we got to hear the big bulky chunk of most of it, which was hilarious.
So what was the
So
mood like when you're sitting in the bus and it's like 8:30?
Oh, it was so antsy. Everybody went off the bus, and we're sitting still in traffic. We were not moving, and everybody was just wanting to jump out. But he was able to turn the hearing on, so we actually got to hear it on the bus, and it was a pretty good. Ran out, ran inside. We got to our seats in the hearing room, and I look over, and they had seated me next to Reverend Al Sharpton. That was new. That
Wow.
happened. And then I'm just sitting there. Well, and then I couldn't even pay attention to that because I'm listening to MDEQ and EPA make excuses and they couldn't even answer anything directly. They couldn't just say, no, the water's not safe. No, this. Well, in retrospect, oh, really? So all I wanted was for Naira and I to have brought popcorn. We talk about this all the time, just bringing popcorn into these meetings, and I wish we would have because it was ridiculous, the lack of actual answers from these people. And I felt bad for the EPA guy because he's been there since November and obviously had no clue. And he was getting torn apart. I tweeted that I think he was starting to reconsider that new job he took in November.
That's what they do. They send in newbies that really know nothing, and they keep saying, "I have no recollection of that. I don't know." That's how they roll. That's how these agencies roll. They just throw in some new, young meat, and they'll get back to them.
And that's the thing is that the committee, they ripped them apart. And I'm like, well, good. You know, if this is who they're going to send in. My favorite part was ripping apart McCarthy for not being there and just now coming to Flint. That I wanted to behave myself, but I couldn't stop, like laughing and cheering. I'm like, yeah, because for once, it's not us tearing apart Snyder and the MDEQ and the EPA. For once, it wasn't us. It was lawmakers, and they're just as angry as we are. And I'm like, yeah, about time you got to the party, and thank you for joining.
Do you remember where that part is? Because I've got the.
That was towards, let me think, it was towards the end. Was it the guy from North Carolina? God, I'm trying to remember, but I couldn't stop laughing.
Do you
Oh,
see?
I tweeted it too.
Do you see
Um,
on the screen?
Let me
Do
see,
you
what's
see
his
it?
name? No, he had some good things to say too. Micah did, but then there was another one. I think it began with a G. His last name began with a G. I'm so tired right now. I can't remember my own spelling. But it was a different. I just remember I
Wait,
had to look
wait,
up
wait,
a
wait,
couple
wait, wait,
times.
wait. Here, I've got everybody. You see the screen.
Yes.
So I took everybody's picture. So we can
Okay.
just scroll down and
Okay. I
we
have to see
can.
their name tags.
Uh,
So
I
yeah,
put
it was towards the end of the hearing. I know that.
towards the end of the hearing.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
we can do this when you get back. How's that?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was one of my favorite parts because he pointed out that she had just now visited Flint, and she's the head of the EPA. What is she doing, taking forever to get here? And it was just excuse after excuse. And that poor guy couldn't even make up any excuses. There really wasn't anything else that he could say. And so everybody's asking, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, well, I thought it was kind of funny that they're finally yelling and screaming the same things that we've been yelling and screaming. But what good does it do if, several of the people that were directly involved in this cover up and this disaster were not present to answer the questions? Snyder should have been there early, Ambrose, Kurtz, several members of the MDEQ, Jennifer Crooks from the EPA, Stephen Bush. I don't care if they're suspended. They all should have been there. I don't care if they've resigned. They should have been there to testify, if in a personal capacity or their official capacity. I don't care. So that to me, let me see. Yeah, I'm kind of watching it too. So that to me was kind of a letdown. Obviously we knew Snyder wasn't coming, and the fact that the chairman didn't even bother to invite him, and that he waited to the last minute to subpoena early. Obviously we're going to have our day with them. I know we are, but it would have been cool to have it, now.
Well, we now know there's going to be another hearing.
Sorry, that was a phone call coming in. Yes, I'm glad.
We know there's going to be another hearing. So the beat goes on. The story just keeps on moving right along.
Well, that, and I think, if it was wrapped up tidy today in one, small package, that we wouldn't have enough information. So the more we, I don't want to drag it out, but the more people that can be called and put under oath, the better at this point in time. Because we're going to get to the truth one way or another.
So how about some more highlights?
Let's see. Well, it was cool to see citizens sitting back there, and they were getting acknowledged. They were saying that the citizens were here. They had traveled from Flint, and they needed and deserved to know the truth. So I thought that was fantastic. How
would you rate Leanne's testimony and her time in front of the panel?
Honestly, we missed it because when we had it on the radio, by the time we ran inside, it was over. So I don't know how much time she got, and we didn't get to hear it. I've heard great things. People were commenting all over the place that she did an amazing job, and I'm sure she did. But it didn't seem like she had a long time, but maybe she did, and it just took us forever to get to the seats.
Everybody had 5 minutes.
Oh.
For their opening statement.
Really? Just 5 minutes?
5 minutes, and Dr. Mark Edwards, I think, took about 3 minutes.
Oh.
And because he said, been here, done that. I know a lot of members on the panel because of what happened in Washington, D.C. I'm sorry that I'm back. I hope that we have a different outcome this time.
Okay, that's awesome.
And so he just said, I hope that we're going to have a very productive hearing this time around, because he's there focused on change.
Yeah, and then again, he shouldn't have to be back again. This should have been addressed and made sure that it was never going to happen to anyone ever again back in when it happened in DC. The laws should have been put into place, and they weren't. So, it's unfortunate he has to do it, but I'm glad he is here to do it. So that's something that, I hope this doesn't happen again. I hope there's and that's been the whole point this whole time, is to fix this and fix it right so it doesn't happen to anybody else. And that's this one thing that we've screamed this whole time, is that it's bad enough that we've had to suffer through this, the fact that it's preventable, and there's no reason that anyone else should have to.
I've got on the screen Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, Washington, D.C. Do you remember her testimony? Do you remember her talk?
I was there sitting up front for that one, and I'm like, ooh, she's got, I always like to say she's got some sass on her, but she was getting mad, the fact that, we had to be back for all this again. And I think she said it quite well, like there's no reason for this to happen. And she got visibly upset and angry. And again, it's good to see that. It's good to see that, not everybody who we've elected and who've been elected by the people ignore us, ignore the people, the plight of the people, especially what's been done to us. And I liked her getting angry.
I think everybody was angry.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody controlled themselves. They all let it out.
No, except the chairman needs to keep an eye on who his focus on. When later on in the afternoon, when I got a call from Russian television, they had me on, and they talked about how the chairperson attacked the EPA, and my response was, well, if you want them to be, because he wanted to know why they weren't in every single city, why weren't they there to ensure that the lead and copper rule is being followed? I'm like, if you want your EPA to be bigger and stronger, how about you not cut their funding? I mean, when we petitioned the EPA to take over the MDEQ back in October, one of the things we were told was that they would love to, I mean, some of them I'm sure wouldn't, but they don't have the funding for that kind of thing, for that kind of like massive takeover. So I'm like, if you want your EPA to be more effective, how about you fund it and have it not be one of the places that are cut when there's budget cuts. So
I want to know
again,
what your response is to Congresswoman Norton's statement, which she said in the district, which means District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., there were late-term miscarriages and spontaneous abortions after unusually amount of lead was found in the water between 2000 and 2003 when a corrosion control substance was added to the water. Miscarriages and spontaneous abortions were reverted to the normal rate. She was the only one that talked about miscarriages, spontaneous abortions on the panel. What do you think about her statement? And with this, we lose her. Yeah, we lost
I've
your
never seen so many people.
We lost your comments. As soon as you were going to respond, you went dark.
Oh.
So if you can hold that thought. Okay.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. Well, no, I say that listening to everything that she said, people that I know have been through in Flint with late-term miscarriages and stillborns and just the absolute tragedies that are going through with pregnant women and infants, there's a direct correlation, because I've never seen so many women lose pregnancies after 6 months, and it just seems to be a cluster starting in 2014. And I mean, I have friends that say that, my niece just lost her pregnancy. My nephew's wife lost the baby, and the baby was 30 days old. That's all he lived to be, and then there was a lady I talked to today that she lost her pregnancy at 8 months. At 8 months, which is almost to the point of unheard of anymore. But we've been hearing a lot of these stories. So I was glad she brought it up, because nobody else did, and nobody else wanted to touch it. I noticed that there was no real reply from anyone in the room when she said that.
So why don't you give us a sense of your day? Did you sleep last night at all on the bus?
No, I did not. I was my son's pillow, and that was okay. I wanted to make sure they got some sleep because I knew we'd be busy today. We were busier than I expected.
Did you finish your press release?
Oh, no, I did not. I did work on that last night before I put my laptop away, and then tried to make my son comfortable, and tried to sleep, just didn't work. I mean, I think just years of being a tour manager, I don't sleep on vehicles. Tonight I probably will. I've been up since 8 a.m. yesterday. So
8 a.m. yesterday. What are the hours? What is that? 8 a.m.
37 hours right now, almost. Wait, 30, no, is that wrong? 24 plus 12. No, yeah, 36 plus 1, 37. Yeah.
And are you going to be able to sleep on the bus between now and until you get back to Flint?
I hope so. I totally hope so. But I do have a lot to do. I am going to try to finish my press release and get it over to Reverend Jackson and work on that planning right there. I'm excited for the march. So the morning went with that. And then we went outside. There was a prayer vigil, so everybody was singing, and it was actually quite beautiful.
After the hearing, did you stand up? Did you talk to anybody?
Yeah, actually, there was a bunch of news crews outside. We left the hearing just before it was over because they said that there was a prayer vigil outside and everybody wanted to go. So we went outside and we talked to a few reporters who, again, looked horrified. And they brought up, they're like, we just went through this a few years ago, and your story is identical to so many people's here. And I'm like, that's just scary. That's just scary. So that was from the local DC press. And so the prayer vigil was beautiful. Lots of people singing and just in support. I got asked to speak at the rally after the prayer vigil. Was not prepared. I did some yelling. That's why my voice is kind of gone. And then Al Sharpton spoke and demanded, they went through their demands, which is, of course, getting the pipes. That's the first thing that they want, just get the pipes out of the ground. And of course, I think that's what everybody's, demanding at this point in time, because it's the only way. As much as we'd like to hope that the orthophosphates are working fast enough, they just don't seem to be, not for everybody. And unless everybody's got safe water, it's not working, in my opinion. So then we went to a press conference, and Congressman Kildee spoke, Senator Peters spoke. I spoke again, was not prepared, but did my wing it type of thing. Actually got upset because we had talked to so many people that were from DC that had lost children and pregnancies and had gone through so much during the lead crisis in DC. It's stunning. So as we all walked together in the pouring rain, we just talked, and just mother to mother.
How did your boots hold up?
Actually, very well. I was glad that I wore boots. My feet are a little swollen, but they stayed dry because I had boots on. So, and that's all it did. It poured and poured. When I was on Russian television, I told him, I was like, "You're gonna have to help me. I look like a drowned rat." I was just soaked. But yeah, and we walked a long ways to the next building, and it was just good to hear. And we waited in line to get in because we had to go through the metal detectors. But it was good to hear from other parents. But then again, it was horrifying because they're like, "Well, we've been where you are now, and we are so sorry for what you have to go through." And it's just looking up to like an older brother or sister that's already fought through this, and it breaks my heart that people have suffered like this and the same things. Somebody wanted to save some money, didn't treat the water right, and look what happened.
I've got some pictures up on the screen. Can you tell us about the pictures?
Well, as we were walking from the Cannon building, which is where the press conference was, to Union Station, it was a 20-minute walk in the rain. I decided to do some speed tourism with my son. So we tried to stop and take as many pictures as we could so we could have kind of like a little mini trip. As we went through, we stopped in front of the Supreme Court and, of course, the Capitol building. And then, there's pictures of my boys with Kurt Guyette. And there's my son, Christian, being interviewed to talk about what it's like to be a kid with his his bones, because that's his biggest concern, is that his bones. So he talked about his bones, his joints hurting. And I tried to be a good example. I know that people get on me about telling their personal health problems and stuff. But what I'm hearing from people is that they're glad I'm doing it, because then they realize that they're not crazy. It's not in their head. Their hair's falling out, their joints hurt, they have swelling, they're having all these muscle pains and bone pain issues. And so I want my kids to share as well, so other kids won't feel that they're crazy or that they're alone. That's the last thing I want. So when people get on me about, why are you telling your personal business? Well, if it inspires people to go to the doctor, and if it lets them know that, hey, it's not in your head, go get checked out, it might be the water, I'd rather that. I'd rather have somebody go get treated than to worry about my personal business, So now
Here you are with your sons and Kurt Guyette. Did Kurt also ride the bus?
Yes. He rode the other bus. He rode the other Flint bus. Yes, he did. So we met up every Travel Plaza stop. We made sure we met up and stuff to see how we were doing. And by the end of today, we're all so tired. But he actually at the press he asked me the best questions, and I'm like, well, of course, I wouldn't have expected anything different. But yeah, so it's just awesome. We were talking about where we were 6-7 months ago when all this was just an idea. All the testing was just an idea that we were batting around back and forth on the phone, and to go through with it and see how much has changed just off of what a small group of people did. It just blows our minds, and we just can't get over it. We're just like, we really did change things. We made a mess here. We definitely made a mess, but in a good way, because look at all the different cities like in Louisiana and Missouri. I love that sign, by the way. She was amazing. and all of these other cities that are coming out saying, hey, how do we do what you did? And we're like, all right, we'll tell you. We're here to help. But so we did a little bit of speed tourism as we walked as quickly as we could in the rain.
What building is this?
That one, which one is that? Oh, that's the Union Station.
Union Station, okay.
Yes, and that's where we spent much of our afternoon. And I think that's Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
The Capitol.
Capitol.
And that's inside the Cannon building. That was the dome. It was beautiful, and that's inside there too. And that was a Johnny Rockets in Union Station. We finally got to eat after all day.
Is this the last meal you've had?
Yes. Yeah, and that was earlier this afternoon, so I'm sure we'll stop along the way, but I think we're all too tired to care at this point. And that's inside Union Station as well. The sculptures were cool. So, that is a gift from Capella Fahum. She's part of No Town Documentaries. They've been filming a documentary about the Detroit water shutoffs, and then met me in May when I went to testify down there and in Detroit, and then have been covering what's been going on in Flint. So they've got like amazing footage of the testing and the marches, protests, petitions. They've been there every step of the way, and she found that one, and I had made a joke about how awesome that glove was. It's an actual Bluetooth phone, and it's like Inspector Gadget phone without the antenna. So she bought me one.
How does it work?
I have no idea. I've not even tried it out yet. I've seen Chico use it before, and he just put it up, and you actually, that's how you answer it, and you talk through your glove, and it freaks people out when you do it. So wow. I can't wait to try it. I just laughed. I was like, that is an amazing gift. Thank you. So, as if the Bluetooth little earpiece didn't freak people out, me talking to my hand is really going to do it.
Did you meet up with Al Jazeera, because you were saying that you were planning on doing an interview with them when you got into Washington, D.C.?
There was no way because we were running so late. I couldn't do it this morning, 7:40, which that didn't happen. So we are going to do Friday morning. She's going to let me sleep tomorrow, and we're going to do Friday morning. So that was really cool, because I told her we can do 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, but I don't know what kind of zombie person I'm going to be. So, yeah.
How did the press conference go?
It went really well. I mean, there were a lot of cameras. They had a lot of really good questions, and 2 of us from Flint spoke, and it was cool to have all the Flint, people that came in the room and just yelling and cheering with the demands. It was cool because it was like home, but in DC. We had all the Flint people here, to yell, cheer, and shout their demands, which is great. And then, we're not home though. So it was just kind of surreal. We're all in DC and we're demanding these things. So, because people were asking about the $30 million that Snyder's proposing. And I'm like, well, according to Val Washington, we've spent $75 million on these bills. So that's not even half. And again, I think it's just trying to throw us, here, take this resignation. Here, take this money for bills. Here, take this, just leave me alone kind of thing. Are you happy now? Are you going to drop it now? No, until you actually spend the money to replace our infrastructure. The answer is no, we're not going to stop.
If you go back in 2 weeks for the next hearing, what will you do different?
Oh, maybe I'll have my taxes back so I can drive. Well, I'm not sure. I think I would try to drive so I could spend more time there. I don't know if I can take my kids because they're probably going to miss tomorrow too, because they're exhausted, and they can't be missing that much school. They already do when they're sick. Have more time for lobbying, I think, and have a more set itinerary. But this was so last minute, and it was awesome the way it was pulled together, and everybody worked together to make this great. So, but I think that just now we know more what to expect. So yeah.
Any other highlights you would like to touch upon?
Just on a personal note, two things. I got a letter from the UN, and they would like me to send a little testimony over about what's happening in Flint. So the rapporteur actually wants to ask questions about human rights and water in Flint. that I almost dropped my phone over when I saw that. I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. Yes, I will get to that like tonight. I will get started on that tonight as well. So I thought that was amazing. And then, yeah, the best thing, the best news I haven't posted on there yet on a personal note was my friend Jude. We were best friends when we were like 8, 9, all the way up through high school, and I have not been able to see her since my wedding 19 and a half years ago. And she just happened to be in DC on business for a week, and yep, she ran up to meet us, and she got to meet my kids and stuff, and that was actually cool. And then she was talking about how proud she was of me, but she travels around the world. She works for the UN and stuff, and she helps all these different developing countries actually build these support systems. So to hear from her that she thinks I'm doing awesome is just the biggest compliment. So yeah, and she's just like so angry that this is happening in the US when she helps people through these things in third world developing countries, and it's happening here, and she's like, this is not supposed to happen in the US. We're supposed to be an example. We're supposed to be strides ahead of all these other countries, and look, we're not. So that was pretty humbling right there, and then it was just amazing to see her after all this time.
Right. What do you have planned for the rest of the week?
Oh goodness. Yeah, I've got to get those camping showers from FedEx freight tomorrow. So I'm going to get a truck to get over there tomorrow to get them delivered to the warehouse I've got and get that figured out. And of course, get working on the march since we don't have a whole lot of time, as well as promoting my concerts. And yeah, I guess I should probably call and schedule that liver biopsy. And I have also some x-rays and blood work I need to go to get done too. So I'll take care of that, hopefully after some sleep. And then yeah, just keep pushing and then see where we're at with the lawsuits and see what all these changes mean, because they change every day. And then today I missed, we have our weekly call with the NRDC in the lawsuit, so I need to see what we missed. And then, I think I have an attorney meeting on Friday. So things, there's a few things for the class action lawsuit. So
Busy.
A little bit, a little bit.
Describe your feeling right now. How do you feel?
I feel I'm physically, obviously I'm tired, but I feel kind of accomplished because to hear, like Mr. Cummings, by the way, my new hero, just so you know, the way he tore a year ago, it was just us. It was just us, just individual regular citizens tearing them up like this. And to hear them condemn what they've done with such passion, I feel like we've done something here. The past year, all the sacrifices, all the loss, all the time, all the blood, sweat, and tears, literally. Yeah, it meant something, and we're going somewhere. And so yeah, so under all this exhaustion, I feel that the citizens of Flint should be proud. We've accomplished something, and we're going to make history to make sure this never happens again to anyone else. And I think that the city of Flint the citizens of Flint should be very, very proud of themselves.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to let you do nothing. Just sit there, become a pillow for your son, or hopefully doze off.
But thank you for traveling with me.
Thanks for participating in our live stream. And
no problem.
We'll talk to you later. I just want to talk to you before I end this broadcast. So I'm going to end the broadcast right now.